Hey, welcome to the Elizabeth Project, where we talk about faith, finding purpose, and friendships. I'm your host, Shane.
And I'm Lindsay, and today's topic is Let's Talk.
So this is different. We are not together, which is so sad. Lindsay is currently in Indiana. We're home. Heath is preaching a revival near the house, so we're home this week. And so we thought, how could we do this? We don't even know if this is going to work right, y'all.
We're trying something new.
It's been what? It's been an hour at least of us trying to just get this set up, okay? But now we're set up, we think, and we're ready to dive into this new topic on communication. And I'm so excited.
Yes.
And I think I'm so excited because it kind of ties in to our last episode where I was talking to Lindsay about how this is something she is so strong in, but this is an area that I so want to be better at. And so we can kind of bounce ideas off of each other. And I love that this episode is practical talk. So we'll really dive into practical aspects on communicating and how to best communicate and to really communicate in a way that people feel heard and can grow friendships through it all. So Lindsay, when I was thinking about different ways in communicating, starting off on the basis, like how do you think that you even start a conversation? Like when you approach someone and maybe they're standing off by themselves, or it's somebody that you know you should communicate with because you're in a certain situation, how is a way that you can approach and just start a normal conversation?
Yeah, so this can be a tricky thing because we in ourselves feel so awkward and it just feels weird, or you don't know where to start. So my first thought is, how would you want a conversation started with yourself? So you have to put yourself in their shoes. And my first thought is, don't be weird. Just play it cool, right? Like, don't act weird. So find something to connect on. Of course, at the beginning, you're going to start it out. You're going to small talk, the things of the weather, or what did you do today, or how are things. But then if you can get into some deeper conversation quickly about things like hobbies or your kids or church or school, that sounds so cliche, but it can be so simple, because then once you connect on something, the wheels will start turning. And sometimes, y'all, you're going to have to talk about things that don't connect to you. So you want to find that equal link that you both connect on, but if you can't, just find what that person is into or what they're intrigued by and roll with it.
Right. I always go ahead and get it. You're all going to hear my kids throughout this whole thing too, that we are home. But pause. Yes, buddy.
Mommy,
How are you?
I just got the tooth pulled.
You got a tooth pulled. I'm so sorry. My little girl, she just got her tooth pulled. And so she was calling to tell me about it. Sweet girl. Okay. Saying that, whenever I enter a conversation, I already know she's saying don't be weird. Like I'm the weird one. Okay. So I just go ahead and clear the air. I'm kind of like, hey, I'm typically awkward. I'm introverted. I get it out. If I say anything really dumb, it's because I'm really nervous.
That's a good thing though, because then people feel more relaxed, because most of the time we're all weird. When you don't know someone, even the type AAA personalities like myself, I still feel that little weirdness because I'm trying so hard. So you're either the weird one or you are trying so hard to make it not weird. So there is this gap that has to be bridged together.
Yes, I can't tell you how many times like I have said that and somebody's been like, oh, okay, me too.
Right.
I'm like, well, good. And something else that I have found, I feel like that is super helpful, and it's not even being fake. Like I genuinely have these thoughts. If you start off something with complimenting someone, it kind of just breaks down that wall. They open up, they feel comfortable with you. It's really just getting involved with that person right off the get.
Right. And I think that's a cool thought, Shane, because when I was a teacher, we would do compliments to each other. And then that just feels this validation, and you feel, a sense of worth because that person complimented you. And it just gets the vibe going.
And then in conversation, something I was thinking as far as, okay, so we've got the conversation started. How do you listen intently so that the person that you're talking to truly feels heard? Some advice that I had heard one time before, they say, when you interrupt somebody, what you're really saying is the person and what they're saying isn't important. So how do you not let them feel that way?
Right. I think that's a good thing. And if you are a talker like me, I don't know how many other people were this way when they were growing up, but my parents were on me all the time, like, Lindsay, don't interrupt, just because I ran my mouth all the time. But that is important, because then when you're interrupting, it's making them feel like what they have to say is not as important as what you have to say. And so I think that's the component of actually listening, actively listening. So that's a skill. You can look up active listening skills. That is a thing. And nod your head, smile, act engaged. If you're off in la la land, they know you're not really listening. So I'll tell you this, Shane and I have had a conversation before about the interrupting thing. And I feel like there's such a fine line. A, don't interrupt, but then B, with your response to someone as you're listening, there is a difference in being relatable and sharing stories to continue conversation about that. But there's a difference when that motive comes across as my story in response to yours is more important than yours. So not just don't interrupt, but make sure that your story isn't being shared to say, like, let me top your story, that it's in a conversational matter.
Because there isn't anything that people like any less, and that is a one-upper.
Right.
I'm always like, I'm not trying to one-up your story. I really don't know what else to talk about unless it's something that I've experienced,
Right.
And I've always heard listening intently, like to be able to really listen to what they're talking to, in your brain be processing a way to summarize back what they are saying to you.
Yeah, so asking questions back, and then that, when you ask a question, that leads to a response, meaning there's more conversation. So it just flows that. You're listening, you're actually caring, and it's flowing into conversation. So then I'd ask you this, Shane, in intently listening, how do you then step forward to follow back up with a check-in, or how do you check back in? How do you go back to that person with conversation?
Honestly, okay, with checking back in as far as in conversation, like if they are in front of you, kind of summarizing back into what they just said. Did I understand you correctly? Is this what you were trying to get across? Which also can work in conflict resolution. Like that is so good. And if you're having that kind of communication, that way you're not coming back with offensive mechanism. It's like, let me understand that I'm truly understanding your heart and where you're coming from and your thought process in it.
Right.
And then as far as following back up, like say we've had a conversation and we've left and we've been apart, like, hey, like I really want to check back in on that person. For me, I legitly have in my reminders on my phone a tab that says people to reach back out to. And this isn't a non-organic, like, oh, let me write down so I know I'm not going to remember to check back in on this person, so let me write their name down. It's not that. For me, my brain just processes in to-do list, and it's just if it's floating in my brain, I may be thinking about it. I may have thought about it, 3 times yesterday. But if I'm not seeing it on a list to practically do it, I will not do it. So for me, that has just been the easiest thing for me, is just to put it in a reminder.
I agree. And I don't think that's any lack of care. I think that's actually accountable to yourself and responsible so that you don't forget. Kind of like when you hear people say, I'm going to pray for you. Don't just say it, like make sure it's done. So this is the same thing in following back up. Make sure you follow up. So find that, whether you set a reminder, if it's in your notes, if it's on your calendar, like mark it a week from now and say, I'm going to do this. Y'all, nowadays, these phones that we have, you can schedule a text message. So schedule a text a week from now. Do whatever that is so that you don't forget. Now, don't be like me and forgot that you scheduled the text message, because then that can get weird. But do those things, add it to your calendar. And I will say, like, one thing spiritually that I've added in, especially when we have a conversation with someone about a concern or a burden or a prayer request, actually pray over them and then add that to your prayer list for the day. And if you are actively praying for someone every day, you will not forget to check back in on them.
That's so true.
You know what I'm saying? Like if I know I'm praying for somebody, then they're already on my mind. They're already in the forefront. So realistically, I will think about them in a week. I will think about them. But then just make sure you do something, even if it's in a monthly basis. Y'all, you don't have to talk to everybody every day. We do not have time for that. Our lives are crazy. But just here and there, it makes you feel good when someone checks in, or that little text, or that little letter in the mail. So whatever works for you on following up, if you're a letter writer, if you're an emailer, like however that works, you have to find what's best for you.
I'm going to bring back pen pals, y'all. I
Oh,
love nothing more than getting
yes.
a little note in the mail. And Emery, she has a whole little stationery set, and that girl loves to write people some letters. And I'm just like, how fun to get a little note. I can't tell you how many times a note. And I think it's just that extra step of something kind of our generation has lost.
Right.
You were talking about texting and social media. In the world of that, like through communication, what do you think maybe we have like lost or gained? And I think it's stuff like that. I know that when somebody has literally taken the time to get out a piece of paper, to sit down, to write out real thoughts of encouragement, and I get that in the mail, I mean, I will probably cry real tears just because
Right.
it is so sweet. It's
Right.
time. Time is the most special, thoughtful gift.
I think especially with social media, we're so in on the give them a like or scroll past it and it becomes so fast. I
Yeah.
think about a quote that I always hear, the best thing about a situation can be the worst thing about it also if you're not careful. And so there's such a beauty in the world of social media and there's so much there at our fingertips, but you have to be careful we don't get lost in the just routine of it, that we use it effectively. So comment on somebody's stuff, send a message. The communication is literally at our fingertips with our phones on us all the time with the social media. Like, hype it up. I think about even Shane, this podcast, the Elizabeth Project. Y'all, we posted out that first podcast and we were freaking out, weren't we, Shane? We were freaking
I was
out.
sitting in my car, I said, I'm going to puke.
Yes. And the text
For
messages.
the 5 people that I thought would listen, honestly, I didn't think
Right.
anybody was going to listen to begin with, but the 5 that I thought might, I was like,
Well, and that's what, like, the texts that were rolling in and the messages and the sharing of it, the sharing of the content, like those things really do matter and it means something to me. And that's that reciprocal connection. You know what I'm saying? And so I guess
Yes.
one more question that I had for you, Shane, like I got to thinking, what is something that other people do that truly make you feel heard?
I think it just goes back to what we just said, like when they really listen and in responding, like what we just said, when I'm speaking and I'm saying something and then I know it's hard because I'm awkward too, but it kind of stops and is stagnant. And I'm like, okay, I just kindly poured out my heart a little bit to you and you're not saying anything. So what does that do in our brains? You start thinking, okay, did I say something
Right.
wrong? Are they thinking I'm crazy? I mean, that's probably true, but are they thinking it? And then now I'm panicking on the inside of, oh goodness, I've got to come up with something else to say
Right.
to either make, and most of the time I start digging the hole and I'm making it worse.
And I think too, so like you're saying, bringing up the specifics, but y'all, if somebody says something to you in regards to a friend or a family member and gives you a name, there is nothing more prominent than using that person's name. So when you follow back up, that makes me feel so heard when somebody comes back and says, oh, hey, you mentioned to me about this person. How is blank doing with X, Y, and Z? So not only do you remember their name, you remembered the topic that we talked about, and it just brings it all together like they really do care. And that makes me feel validated.
There's one preacher in particular that we run into not very often throughout the year, maybe twice, and he loves my kids. And he'll say, you know, hey, I'm praying for your kids. Well, a lot of people say that, and
Right.
I appreciate that, and I believe they are, but we will see him 10 months later, and he will go, hey, I've been praying for Emery, Parker, and Kaysen. How are they doing? Just a validation back to me of, wow, that person really cared, and it
Right.
breeds a connection.
And I think that is a panic for some people because that may not be your strong point, names or things like that. And y'all, if you do just, right. And so if you do just run into someone, you may not always have that. But each time that we step up, put our best foot forward and go for it. Try to figure out how to be better, do better, and learn how to grow in that area.
It is true. Friendships, they take work. And it doesn't even take work just in the friendship aspect, but it takes work on yourself. I mean, even the Bible says, like, if you want friends, you know, you've got to kindly be friendly. And some people's qualities, that's not their easiest attribute, and that's okay. But then that just proves, like, hey, this is something in Scripture that proves that I've got to work harder if I want these connections to last, if I want them to be true, genuine friendships. And kind of what we said in the last podcast, I have played it over and over, and I love it. I'm like, I want you to go the depths with me. You said that. And you will only do that for real connected friends. And that's what this is all about.
So I think a challenge for us today, and maybe this will challenge other people. Shane, if you could send a voice message right now in this moment to encourage a friend, what would you say?
Why'd you got to throw that one on me so fast? No, see, this is me. This isn't me. I've got to, before I even send a text, I will type it out in my notes because I'm scared that I'm going to hit send before I'm done processing what I really wanted to say. So more than likely, I'm not going to voice text. I'm going to try to thoughtfully put it in my notes and type out something, but it probably will be something of just like really checking in. And then I may even end it with some sort of question that I can see if they want the conversation to keep going, or if they're just like, you know, that was super sweet, you thought of me, you know, and it doesn't always have to lead into this big prolonged conversation, but just the thought, hey, like I was really thinking about you and I really do hope you're doing well.
I agree. And don't let that be a stumbling block for you. If there's conversation, great. But if there's not conversation and that person just puts that little heart on it and loves it and moves on, I, as the extrovert, am like, oh my word, did I not say something right? Did I not check in on them enough? Why do they not want to talk to me? But
Yeah.
y'all, sometimes people aren't in that season and they might not be ready to talk or they may not have time to talk. So don't let that stop you from following back up again later. Do it when it's on your heart. Tell them I would do the same thing that Shane would do. I would say all those same things and say, I'm praying for you. Hope this is going well. And make sure you actually do that too.
Yes, and I think for that aspect too, a lot of my anxiety comes from when someone does send me a text like that. I'm like, oh, I so appreciated that. How am I going to relay the message back to them that I am so excited that they checked in on me, or that really meant the
Right.
world that they checked in on me? So it's so bad, but I may wait an hour because I'm like, I don't want to send this in a time where I'm in chaos. Like, I really want to sit down and be able to fully thank them for checking in on me because it really does mean a lot, you know?
Right. And I think I will tell you, like, we joke about it all the time about how terrible I can be with a phone. But I think it is so hard learning this generation. And y'all, we're all trying to figure out how to use it best. Make sure you do follow up, but make sure that it can be intentional. So for me, that may be days from now, like Shane said, so that I can truly be intentional with a follow up or with a response. But just do it to the best of your ability. That is the thing that I think is so hard. Used to, it was come join me around my table or let me drop off food.
Yeah.
Or let me bring over coffee and let's just have a coffee chat. Life is a little different than that. So let's figure out how to navigate it together.
I love that.
Mhm.
Okay, so what we want you to do right now, I want you to pull out a piece of paper if you're driving or whatever. I want you to save this clip right here. And when you get home, I want you to pull out a piece of paper or a note on your phone. I want you to come up with 3 girlies that you feel like would be on your heart or someone that you really feel like you could encourage. And then proceed with what we just did and kind of just send them a note of encouragement. Like you can never go wrong being friendly. And so there's your challenge.
And just remember, let's talk.
Hey, thanks for spending time with us here on the Elizabeth Project. Every listen, every share, and every message means the world. My hope is that these conversations remind you that you're seen, you're called, and you have a purpose right where you are. Until next time, keep showing up, keep growing, and remember, you belong here.